So it seems like 90% of the time that I'm getting on here to give you guys a fuck around and find out moment, it's about farmers and people in rural communities, mainly because they're the ones who really didn't think voting for Donald Trump would negatively affect them at all. In fact, they thought they were going to get rich because of tariffs. Imagine being dumb enough to think that the government imposing tariffs on foreign countries was somehow going to trickle down into your little ass wallet in some podunk town in Arkansas. But I digress, because today we have a beekeeper who voted for Donald Trump and is now losing a lot of his money. And guess who has 2 thumbs and 2 elbows and does not give one goddamn? This guy.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
At Secret Garden Bees, a honey farm in Linden, North Carolina, farmer Jim Hartman has one eye on his bees and the other on his bank account.
Ideally, we'll get 100 pounds of honey per hive per year.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, you know, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
But you see, he knew, and we all knew that people who couldn't afford things would struggle more. He just thought it would be inner city families, not his neighbors. You see, when Trump was out there saying he was going to cut food stamps and SNAP benefits, he cheered that shit on because he thought that meant black and brown people would eat less. When Trump said he was going to cut school lunch programs, he cheered that shit on because he thought black and brown kids would eat less. When Trump said he was going to defund Planned Parenthood, he cheered that shit on because he thought black and brown women would get less reproductive health care. He was here for all of it until he realized this stuff was going to affect his white neighbors as well.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
And that smirk on his face, that smirk is because he can afford to lose a little money. He's been a part of the privileged class long enough to realize that things will soon come back in his favor.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
Among other things, Jim imports packaging supplies for his honey, so he's paying real close attention to the tariffs Trump just put in place.
We just bought our year's supply of bottles from Taiwan and our year's supply of corks from Portugal about 3 weeks ago. So that would have been, another $5,000 or $6,000 out of my pocket.
Which is partly why he's repairing instead of replacing this 40-year-old forklift.
The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
He's also holding off on improvements around the farm.
Well, we're not going to hire any more people, that's for sure.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides it to schools and food banks. But after Donald Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
I hope his tractor breaks down and he can't afford a new one. I hope he has to work 20 hours a day because he can't afford to hire new people. But this fool was selling honey to the federal government. That honey was going to schools and food banks. So he was profiting off the poor people he was voting against. He voted to take food out of their mouths, and now it's taking money out of his pockets. I hope his company closes, and one day he's standing in one of those food service lines and they run out of food for the day right when he gets to the front of the line. Fuck that guy. Trump told these people that he was going to be cutting benefits to poor communities, and they thought, no way that would ever affect us. They voted for this shit, and I have absolutely no sympathy for them.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue. For me, it's going to cost me around $150,000 a year.
$150,000?
Yeah, roughly 50% of my revenue.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
Yeah, and screw all his local farmer friends who are losing their money if they voted for Donald Trump too. But you see that smile when he says it's a massive hit? Again, that's because it's still not enough to do much to him. So I'm over here hoping he loses all his revenue and he has to apply for bankruptcy and it's denied.
Not far from Jim's farm, we found other Trump supporters who give the president high marks on tariffs.
How do you feel about the tariffs?
Well, I feel like for years we've been getting ripped off, and why not make it fair? 0-0. And I think Trump was upfront about it. He said we're going to hurt some now.
This guy knows absolutely nothing about our trade agreements and he's regurgitating right-wing talking points. But he did know something. Trump was definitely upfront about it. He told us it was going to screw us, but white farmers and white beekeepers, they didn't think it was going to hurt them too. So screw them. I hope he can no longer pay for his kids' college. I hope he has to go a couple of days without electricity. This is what they wanted for poor people, so it's exactly what I want for them. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.